Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. And of course, good morning to the world receiving our signals via the magic of El Internet, formerly known as ARPANET, created by whom again? Created by we the people. We the people. Always remember that, folks. We the people. That's when we are powerful. We the people. But without further ado, we throw it to the studios with, I think, El Senor Howard Reynolds, Jacques Van Bever, and Mayana. Good morning, everybody.
Well, good morning to you. It is Wednesday morning at the radio, the 3rd of September, 2025. Thought we would start it off with the national anthem because I had to remember and remind myself that I am in America because it doesn't
Yeah.
seem like it's America anymore.
Wow. Wow. I was sitting down there saying, getting ready to think, "Oh, there's something Howard wants to tell us." And there you go. Thank you for the
Well,
remembrance, brother.
we are in the United States of America. We the people are speaking, and we're speaking against a despot. And the court system finally woke up and said, hey, wait a minute, you can't use the Marines to go and quail some type of a disturbance in society. So thank you. Thank you for observing the law. Thank you for enforcing the law. I appreciate it. And to that end, here is Jack Van Bever and some wisdom.
There you go,
Oh,
Jack.
man, this wisdom's getting heavy. It's getting heavy. Okay. Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services is trying to expand prior authorization in traditional Medicare, even though all the data points say it's a bad idea. It ain't broke. It doesn't need fixing. Prior authorization means delays and denials for seniors. Don't let these politicians put obstacles between you and your Medicare. Ask yourself why. Why is this administration attempting to gut and destroy your social safety network? Why are they selling the people out to corporate interests? Because the corporate interest is the only thing this kind of policy will serve in their attempts to completely privatize your Medicare. This policy serves CEOs at the detriment of senior citizens. Why is this administration being so mean and hostile to its citizens? Why? 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 Why?
Because they want to kill off all the old people.
Yeah, they
You really
want
want
to remove them from the bottom line.
Yeah, if you want to know the honest truth, they want to kill off all the old people and enslave the young people.
Yes,
So
yes.
Fascism.
there you go.
Fascism.
That's what fascism looks like, and it's probably a bit worse than fascism. But I mean, you know, Donald, I'm going to change the subject a little bit, and then that's the main subject of the day for sure. But Donald Trump likes to talk about how we're being respected around the world and how strong we are, etc. For the longest time, we're about 4% of the world, population wise. And we probably take up about 25% of all the natural resources. And we also about 20% or so in economic power around the world. I mean, that is huge for 4% population. And we've held that after World War II for some time because we have been a manufacturing behemoth, a financial behemoth. I mean, in everything. And we have maintained that for a long time. And countries weren't really, countries like stability. The world likes a certain degree of stability. And whether, some would call us uh, bullies because, again, we are very, very strong as a country. We are, or I'm going to kind of put are with a little bit of W in there, maybe were the strongest. But now what we're starting to see, people looking and saying, why? Why? There's a new bloc that has just emerged. Uh, it has a title shrink, right? It's really China, uh, Russia, India, North Korea. Crazy union, not a real union of friends, but you can see that these guys getting together isn't necessarily that they like each other, but it's about sticking it to America. We of course also have BRICS, which is Russia, India, China, and which is a B, Brazil, and all these groups that are forming alliances, all of them, each one of those alliances with GDPs in the aggregate larger than America, sometimes larger than America plus Europe. And these people for these countries for the longest time would never do something like let's try to create different axes of power around the world. Again, with all the flaws that we have, the level of democracy that we've had has still been better in the aggregate than all these other countries these countries that I've just mentioned. And as much as Brazil has turned out to be a strong democracy under Lula, uh, it has an interesting past as well. So this guy that we call President of the United States, who likes to talk about people respecting us more so than under any other administration, is actually faltering, and it's actually putting not only our safety at risk, but when we are able to do the bad kind of spending, deficit spending, and all that kind of stuff without very adverse effects, because we have something called sovereign currency, sovereign money, the reserve currency, people wanting to use the dollar as the backstop, something that they can believe in even in bad times. That is fast changing. And that is fast changing solely because of what Donald Trump has done to our reputation. What Donald Trump has proven that we are no longer that solid country that won't cross certain lines. Donald Trump has made it that no powerful person, country, or whatever remains powerful by bullying others or by putting others at risk or by damaging others. Others will start to think we need to make alliances to protect ourselves. And that's what the rest of the countries are doing, or a lot of the major countries are doing right now. And there's a reason. There was a trust that, to a certain extent, not completely, as the indigenous people, as those treaties that we've broken, not by Trump, but by others. But for the most part, we were reliable, the most reliable. And that isn't the case anymore. Donald Trump has completely flipped that around, from tariffs to military alliances to the way we treat expatriates and foreigners that are coming in. Uh, we have changed the paradigm, and it's something Trump's not going to pay for it. He's getting rich off of what he's doing. But we as a country have started paying for it and will continue to pay for it as long. And by the way, even if Trump is out of office, and this I'm speaking now to those who've elected Trump, even after he leaves office, he would have changed our international relationships for a generation. And the reason why is people don't want to build their houses on sand. They, for the longest time, built it on American reputation. Whether a Democratic president or a Republican president came into the fold, they knew that certain norms weren't getting crossed. They knew that certain things a Republican administration did would hold up and be maintained by that Democratic organization in the aggregate when they get into power. Donald Trump has shown that's no longer the truth, but it's worse. We, the people of America, have shown the world that our vote is no longer a sensible vote. Our vote is no longer a pragmatic vote. Our vote is not no longer a vote that the rest of the world can trust. This country that once seemed very educated, once seemed that, well, the people know best. We have shown the world, we have shown the world that a large percentage of Americans don't know best, and a large percentage of Americans are willing to sacrifice their country for reasons unwarranted. And you can plug the space in for what those reasons are. We've discussed it many times. But the damage that we've done is a damage that won't be even easily solved, even if we elect a subsequent Democratic president in a landslide. So we have a lot of work as a country to do. We have a lot of atoning to do. We have a lot to rebuild our respect, both as individual United States citizens and as a country as a whole. And I hope that we start doing that not in the midterms, but I hope we start doing that in November when we have major elections in several states, that we can at least show the rest of the world that we're waking up and that we see the flaws of the ways that we've had. Uh, we complained when Reagan and Bush were elected. People on the right complained when Clinton and Obama was elected, but none of the rest of the world felt of any one of those presidents that became those guys that became president of this United States. None of them thought that any of those Republicans or Democrats was a clear and present danger to the United States of America, albeit to the world. Anyway, before I get started, I want to bring in the first call of the day because he's already waiting. Let's go to John in Cyprus. John, come on in.
Hey, Beto, how's it going?
I'm doing fine, my brother. Talk to me.
I can't believe you're right on the money today. I mean, I always think that, but to have you so much on what I was going to say, but you didn't bring up one thing for the reason that I called. I tried to watch the news yesterday. I tried to follow stories, and everything you said is something I've believed that's been happening, and it's been in the newspapers, it's been everywhere for the last 3 or 4 days. Those alliances that the world is protecting itself from the insanity of Donald Trump and the economics. Yes. The man just refuses to understand how tariffs work, and there's nobody in that clown car of a cabinet that's going to stand up and say, hey, this isn't the way tariffs work. And but I see it this way. Mm-hmm. The corruption that is leaked over into our press. I watched the I guess you'd call it a press conference that Tulsi Gabbard and Caroline Levitt had yesterday, and it was so difficult to watch. It was bad enough to have them get up there and lie and fabricate and make up just conspiracy theory is what it is. But to watch the press ask one stupid question after another was very difficult. And to not have this morning the top story be what happened with the Jeffrey Epstein thing. And then to hear these people on CNN interviewed Mike Johnson and allow him to continuously lie to them without once interrupting him. It's just horrible. And man, we depend on freedom of the press so much, and so does the world. What you're saying is correct, but the only way to fight it is you have to tell the truth, and we're not doing it. We're not sitting there and saying, hey, you know what? We brought India and China together. That's what the Trump administration has done.
Imagine that's
Countries
nearly
that
half the world
normally never.
population. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let me
yeah.
let me say this, John, and I think it's important. First of all, I think we did start out with shrink: China, Russia, India, North Korea. North Korea really just being brought in there because it's a nuclear power. Because from an economic standpoint, North Korea is really a non-starter. But um,
Right.
the thing about it is they're getting together to actually show the rest of the world that there are other poles. And when I say poles, I don't mean POLL, but POLE. Also, they want to show. I mean, China has this policy where they build its roads and something. I can't remember what the policy is called. Where they are in while we are bullying folks to do certain things. You know, Donald Trump blew up a boat out of Venezuela last night, claiming it was much more than it really was. You know, but when you see that the rest of the world continues to hedge against the United States, it's only hurt us. You take a look at tourism in America right now, it's way down. People are going elsewhere. People are discovering elsewhere. And it is a shame because these are things that open us up for the ease that we navigate the world with. And all of that is coming to an end. Go ahead, John.
Well, the thing is, that we've alienated our allies. That's for sure.
Hmm.
But the thing is that some of the countries that we depend on to keep us strong is to have a ally like India, to have different countries. But you're right, and I noticed that too. There's too many distractions in the news cycle, and the media is just not together. It's kind of like the Democratic Party. They have so much to complain about, but nobody wants to get behind any one candidate, one purpose to dismantle what's going on. And you're right; it's going to take a long time to straighten this mess out. But that's because we were already set up through corruption. We allowed gerrymandering, and Supreme Court's already said that. And the Senate, is violated. It's a corrupt system to begin with from the very beginning. We know the founding fathers built that to protect themselves, and it's corrupt, and you got to change that. And it's just like the DOJ. You can't have the DOJ controlled by the president. He's
Yeah,
showing you what you're capable of.
yeah. No, let me just say this, right? Because even in what you're saying, what you're bringing up, right? You're bringing up so many different issues, and there's a limit to what most people can concentrate on itself. So a lot of times recently, I've really tried to go to what's causing all of this, and we know it's money in politics, but then we say how, right? And it
Exactly.
fundamentally starts from our economic system and the untenability of our economic system, which means then that those who have power to maintain a system that is untenable for a longer period of time, you have to do these things. The corruption of the DOJ, the corruption of the economic system, the corruption of the press, all of that works together. You mentioned about how the press is lie, continues to accept lies or continues to give a platform for the lies. That's what the mainstream media has become, which is a platform where lies get traction, even if they counter it to some extent. It gets viability, it gets traction, and this is self-serving. What I'm going to say here, but I mean it to the core. Um, y- the mainstream media is paid for by an oligarchy. every drug commercial that you see on TV that they're trying to sell you drugs or convince you to tell your doctor to sell that drug is on a network or cable station and that ad is funding them. When you watch a reverse mortgage ad that that has government support in convincing you to hawk your home so that in effect you leave nothing for your kids, that is done on mainstream media. That is paying, you're paying twice. You're paying to use your eyeballs. You're paying for the reverse mortgage. You're paying for you are paying for everything. You're even paying for folks to ill inform you, to misinform you. That's our that's our economic system. That's our economic paradigm. My program and many other independent programs, that's what we are fighting against. And the people, and luckily, the people that are listening to us, most 80-90% of the folks get it. They get it and they support it. So I hate to turn what you're saying into sort of a pitch, but the only way Amy Goodman and myself and others are able to do this is that since we are not going to get those corporate dollars, it has to come from the folks who understand that to save this country, we have to have an educated population. And that education isn't coming from the media. That education isn't coming from the government properly. We look at what Kennedy is doing, pseudoscience. We are actually doing things. And by the way, there's profit in the pseudoscience that Kennedy is doing to the NIH and the CDC. There's money to the corruption in the Trump administration. And we're going to discuss Medicare, what they're trying to do to traditional Medicare now, and show how it is yet another function of our economic system. But, John, I got to take off now and go
Okay.
to tag and then
I'll
start the
I'll
program.
leave you
Okay?
with this. Y'all talked about killing the old people, and yeah, if when you deal with Medicare, you'll be killing me.
Exactly. I got you, brother.
So
But you know what? Hey,
stay
hey,
strong,
John,
man. Stay strong. Y'all stay
John,
strong.
we're not going to let them kill you, all right? At all. Thank you, brother.
No, I'm gonna keep supporting you. I'm gonna keep supporting you. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Let's go to Tag. Come on in, Tag.
Hello, Egberto.
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
Just had a quick rant for you, like usual.
Yes, sir.
You know, I keep hearing this connection from the top, who's trying to get us to believe that there's this innate connection between socialism, the study of Marxism, and of course the big C word, communism. I mean, it's like, oh my God, this all leads back to communism. and what a terrible threat we're under by the CCP and the communists. It's just no talk about Russian communism, but definitely the Chinese communists are terrible. But here's my rant, okay? And this really bothers me. Is like, what about all the American businesses who have moved to China, taken all our jobs over there, are making trillions of dollars off from China, the Chinese labor, the CCP, the whole thing. What about a rant about those people? What about the rant about these businesses that have undercut the American economy? What do you think about that, Egberto?
I mean, look, there are two. Remember, I told you that the genesis of our entire problem is the economy. First of all, they would have you believe that the opposite of capitalism, which is what those companies are practicing when they're throwing their. Let me first tell you, there's a reason behind sending business to China. The definition of capitalism is a maximization of profits for the shareholder and bonuses for the executives. There is no heart or humanity in there. So, what these capitalist companies are doing is the right thing by definition. Throwing their money and factories in China and elsewhere is the right thing to do under the tenets of capitalism, because that is how you maximize income for your shareholders, which is the only thing from the genesis of this country we did. We executed slavery for that reason. We executed the Trail of Tears for that reason. Everything that we have ever done was the maximization of profits for the few, God, or I should say then, and damn humanity. That has always been. I mean, we put a facade on it, but anybody who wants to honestly study history, that's what we've gotten. It is no different. Now, what you mentioned about why aren't we ranting against factories moving to China? Because we have bought into the economic system. That is directly and properly our own doing. And the only way we get away from that is being educated to understand that the economic system that we have promotes exactly what those companies are doing. Biden instituted sort of a comeback. In other words, hey, chip company, start making chips over here. We'll pay you to make chips over here. And then Donald Trump comes in and Donald Trump says, ha 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 ha, we're giving you billions to come over here out of the taxpayer money. I want a piece of the action. So now the United States government is going to own a piece of these companies who we gave money to. Ironically, that's one policy that he has that I believe in. If we are going to give money to a private company, we should own a piece of it and makes a piece of the profit out of the private company and throw it into the treasury. That part I agree with Trump in. But you know what? The rest of businesses is calling that communism. The natural resources being controlled by the government, which isn't the case. It's just getting a fraction of interest in the company, of course. So what I'm saying to say it easily, the genesis of all these problems, as I was telling John, is end state capitalism, end stage capitalism, because we have eaten all of the folks that are easily eaten. Now we have to come for you. We went for the rest of the world. We then had to come for the others. Now we're coming for you. There's no, this is, all of this is mathematically provable, right? And those are the kinds of things that we try to do here. So I mean, there's a method to the madness of which you speak, Tag. Anything else before we move on?
Yep, it's just like I'm getting so sick and tired of being labeled as a communist because I'm a Democrat.
Oh,
And
look,
it's
let me
like,
tell you, what they want to call communist right now would actually be an improvement. I mean, you're not a communist, and none of us here are communists, but right. But if they defined what we believe in, something that's going to make life better for every single American, if they want to call it call it whatever you want to call it. But what I do know is that the economic system that we have right now has 60% of Americans a paycheck away from poverty. It has another 20% not living under the auspices of a good of a sustainable economy. So look, don't worry about the labels they're going to call you. Let's just try to do what's right for the American people. Thank you, John. I mean, thank you, Tag. Let me go to Johnny. I thought I was going to get to my Medicare earlier. Let's go to Johnny. Come on in, Johnny.
Yeah, I would have preferred that Captain Reynolds rap played the Whitney Houston version, but because she represents my feelings better to me. She resonates with me more than white guys in a military band or an orchestra. That's just me. Or like Magic Jack said, how about the Jimi Hendrix version? Either one will be okay, but not let's not be so traditional. How about that?
Okay, we won't be all that traditional. Go ahead.
That's all I got. All right. I got coughing to do.
All right, take care, my brother. Thank you. Let's go to John from Minneapolis. And maybe after John from Minneapolis, I can start the Medicare.
Yeah. I just wanted to really quickly say that, a lot has changed since we made neoliberalism the unofficial religion of the globe and the world, and end-stage capitalism, essentially, offers up the whole population to the profit without it's unbridled, and we need to bridle capitalism again. And it's interesting. When I was in college, they actually had people who were progressives, Marxists, socialists, as chairmen of whole departments in the social sciences, economics, history. So, those ideas have validity. And what we're doing now is just pushing a whole infrastructure based on that religion. And it's going to, literally destroy our economy, our culture, our democracy, our environment. So that's all I wanted to say. We need to, do something about that, because if you have children or grandchildren, you should be concerned about destroying their lives. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, John. And let me just add to that, because what's important for us to realize is that the answer is always going to be education. And it doesn't, and when you
Yep.
educate on certain issues, you get a pushback. I've been getting, let me tell you
Mm-hmm.
something. I've started to take on end stage capitalism head on. Many Democrats and progressives are scared to take on the subject, and the reason they're scared is for exactly the reason that you just said. There people fear being called a communist or a socialist or whatever it is they fear. And I usually say, don't worry about labels, worry about policy. What particular policy would you want to see to make lives better? And forget about whatever they want to label you. And the policies you're going to come up with are completely anathema to what our corporations are doing right now. Our corporations are not democracies. Our corporations are, in
Oh,
fact, fascist entities. By definition, a corporation is not a democracy. So how can you expect democratic policies out of something that's not democratic? Corporations are there to make money and profits, and I don't have a problem with that. But we the people, we the government, we must take control of the economy. We allow them to operate within the economy, but the economy is not theirs. The economy is ours, and we decide how we want the economy to function. We want a strong safety net. We want mothers and fathers that have resources to take care of their kids. We want to make sure that folks have a livable wage. We want to make sure that the environment isn't destroyed for the profit of a few. We want all these things. And businesses must adapt to the things that we want, because we also form part of that which is called a business. Thank you so kindly, John. Uh, wow. All right. After Brian, I'm going to really get into the Medicare, because I need folks to understand this. All right, Brian, come on in.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. This transgender thing. If you have a child and it's a boy and it wants to turn into a girl, right? If it said, "I'm a superhero," would you take it up on the roof and put a cape on it and throw it off? Or if it said, "I'm anorexic," you're going to say, "Yeah, you're right. I'm not going to feed you for the rest of your life." Is that basically what
You
it's
know
like?
what is one of the most uneducated things to say, Brian? When you make false equivalences, things that don't compute, that is where the right has taken folks like yourself, sir. And it's a shame when you have these false equivalences. It may seem like something smart aleck, but it's a false equivalence. So I'm not even going to attempt to answer that. Thank you, Brian. Have a wonderful day. All right, let's go ahead and get to. I want to talk a little bit about. I want to talk a little bit about Medicare. First of all, this is a time where if you are on mainstream media, if you are on, the, let's say, TikTok, Instagram, Telegram, if you are on broadcast media, cable media, this is a time that they start bombarding you with Medicare information and what to sign up for, etc. This is a time when that happens. And if you are on TikTok, and a lot of us are, there are actual classes that you're being given. Classes that you're being given on how to choose Medicare. And, uh, and most of them that I've checked out thus far are frauds. They're just there to make it seem like they're educating you to move into Medicare Advantage. Before I get into my spiel today, I want to tell all of you that are listening to me right now, if you have the extra bucks in your pocket that you can afford to buy Medigap, in other words, get traditional Medicare, don't get Medicare Advantage, get Medicare, and you have a few dollars in your pocket to buy Medigap, that is what anybody who cares about their health would do. And here is why. Only when you turn 65 and first get Medicare do you have the option to really get Medigap at the price everybody has to get Medigap at. In other words, if you let after 65 and if you were to go to Medicare Advantage and figure out that the plan that you have somehow disparate, it harms you. After 6 months, trying to get that Medigap portion that's going to take care of the 20% that Medicare traditional doesn't pay for, you will have to go through what's called the actuarial tables, which means that pre-existing conditions come into play, your age, whether you smoke, all these other things come into play. If you don't get Medigap right up front, that's a trick they have played on all of us. Our government, run by the corporations, have put that in there to sort of force you to stay on substandard Medicare Advantage plans. For those who have a Medicare Advantage plan that's working well for them, great for you, but know that you are still at risk when that particular plan hits a certain number. But so I want to start that way. Anybody, all of you turning 65 now, you are raw meat for the lions out there trying to take your money from the government. In other words, all those people are trying to get you signed into Medicare Advantage because the people who sell Medicare Advantage get a lot more money than selling you a Medigap program. They make zero for Medicare, but but when you get Medicare, they sell you a Medigap, and they don't make as much money as they make for selling you a Medicare Advantage program, which ultimately stand a good chance of harming you. So please, if there's the only thing that you hear from me today is going to Medicare Advantage at your own peril. That's all. That's if there's the only thing you get from me today. But here is a problem now. One of the things with Medicare Advantage is, remember, the sole purpose of Medicare Advantage is to make a profit for the companies who sell it. In fact, many companies who sell Medicare Advantage have stopped selling Medigap programs altogether, have stopped selling other insurances altogether because Medicare Advantage is so profitable for them. It's profitable for them, but you know who pays, right? You do. Our tax dollars immediately transfer to those insurance companies selling the Medicare Advantage. And remember, there was a time they didn't want to insure old people; they cost too much. But now, because it's sanctioned by the government, they're just bleeding the money from the government for Medicare Advantage. So don't do that. Now, one of the big selling points that keep people on traditional Medicare is because there was very little pre-clearance. In other words, anytime a doctor saw fit that you needed a medicine, that you needed a procedure, that you needed something, the doctor would there was no pre-clearance, meaning they have pre-authorization, meaning they have to go call some company to get you pre-authorized before they can do that service. They trusted the doctors, just like we trust the grocery store clerk, we trust all these other things. And later on, if we find there's fraud there, we let them pay for the fraud. But we don't go into the assumption that they are fraudulent. We go into the assumption, just like you pay your taxes, people can cheat on their taxes, and the IRS makes the assumption that you're honest, and every so often they audit people that they figure may be getting off, and then that's how they recover their money. That is the efficient way to run government programs. You give a lot, and you test the waters for fraud, and then you condemn the fraud, and you make an example out of those committing the fraud. Now, guess what, Justin? I'm not going to read the article because I had to take so much time with our beautiful callers. But now Donald Trump is implementing a test case in several states. And I think these are, to put it bluntly, I think these may be red states. I'm not sure all the particular states, but the test that they're doing is to have traditional Medicare behave like Medicare Advantage, where they test pre-authorization. Let me just give you some numbers, though. Medicare traditional already does some pre-authorizations for very expensive type things, right? And it's called for things that are not very emergency at the time, etc. They have a few pre-authorizations in Medicare, and they get it 98% right. 98% right. Meaning 2% error rate, where when you go back and protest, it's like, oh, I guess we probably really needed to give you that. Medicare Advantage has not a 2% failure, a 20-odd% failure. In other words, when they deny you service and you protest, 80% of the times you actually get the service. But by then, you're sicker, you're unhealthier, all of that becomes true. But it's even worse. That's 80% of the people who actually have the nerve to protest the denial. And a lot of people don't protest their denial of service or medicine. So it is likely much higher when these private companies are denying services. But here's what happens, brothers and sisters. Trump is high. We have a part of government, the MAC, that actually does these pre-authorizations, right? And they're 98% accurate. But it's government employees. Now Donald Trump wants to give it to the same people who administer it for Medicare Advantage. He wants to give these people a contract, traditional Medicare, give them a contract to decide whether a service is valid or not. People that have a 20-something% failure rate. But it gets worse. They are paid based on how much they deny you services. Just like our regular private insurance seller, they make the most money from denying the most services. So if they deny you a big cut, they make a big cut of what was denied you. All these things are happening behind the scenes. Did you see that on mainstream media highlighted in any major way? No. But is it going to affect all of you and affect you to the core? Yes. Yes. It's right now a pilot program. So most of Americans won't get touched. Those of you that are on Medicare Advantage won't get touched. But eventually, if Donald Trump and his sycophants stay in power, that will become law. And as John said earlier, Egberto, what they're doing is manufacturing my death. So, you're informed. You know other reasons why you must make sensible and why you must elect people that are sensible, moral, ethical, and humane. This is not a joke. This is not about MAGA versus this, because MAGAs are going to be screwed just as much as anybody else. Hug your MAGA. Look, we like I mentioned earlier to John and to Tag, what we have to be is an educated voter, an educated population. We've lost that. when you hear all this anti-woke, anti-critical thinking, all these things, they need you. The Powell memo said it. They wanted to infiltrate your, not wanted to, they have now done it. They've infiltrated your churches. They've infiltrated your schools. They've infiltrated the media. They have finito complete. They have done it. And just voices like what we are doing here and other independent voices that are not dependent on the plutocracy are here informing. As John says, I watch the news and my God, I can't believe the stupidity that's coming out of the questioner's mouth who are running the mainstream media. And yes, you're right. It's the most silly questions. I sit down at my desk here with 3 screens going and like, are they going to ask this? Are they going to ask that? They're not there for you. They're there to keep the facade on a failed economic system. I'm going to pause here so I can go to brother Coach AJ. Brother Coach AJ, come on in.
How you doing, brother? How you doing?
I am doing fine, sir. Talk to me.
Yeah, I called you yesterday. Did you get the information for today?
Yes, I sent you a text. Did you receive my text this morning?
I'll have to look. I'll have to look through it. I'm just getting up and around.
Yeah, I sent
man,
you a text this morning.
I really appreciate me finding your show and actually this channel or this station. Man, you don't hear a lot of intelligent talk out here. People just mimic whatever they hear, and they it's about their feelings and all of this, and they backing these guys who all they care about is taking money out of people's pockets. They don't care if you live or die. It's actually a genocide of what they're doing to our seniors and the most vulnerable. So I really appreciate you and your listeners. But we got to get out there and vote, man, and we got to come together. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing today. And hopefully you can participate. You'll see how we're building coalitions of people who are intelligent and understand what's going on. Love to have you there today.
I appreciate that. Take a read of the text that I sent you, but I appreciate you, Coach, and please remember, share about who we are, including at the meeting, because we have to get to independent media now, because right now, I mean, there's so much that I hear. It is amazing that I sit down and watch the people that I once so respected and says, why are you saying that? Why aren't you telling Americans what the reality is? The fact that they give Trump plausibility is on them. But anyway, thank you very much, brother Coach. Let's go to Jimmy. Come on in, Jimmy.
Hi, Berkshire. I'm glad you're talking today about a specific issue like Medicare. That's how people learn. We need to talk more about specific things that President Trump is doing. Like recently, he shut down an offshore wind project off the coast of Rhode Island that had 65 turbines. It was going to supply electricity for 350,000 homes, and he shut it down. He wants to use coal and oil and gas, and they pollute the air. The goal should be for us to use more wind power and more solar power. But Trump is going the opposite. He's hurting the environment and hurting the country. That's the sort of things we need to talk about him, not just say he's a bad guy. We need to talk about specific things that he is doing to harm the country. And Chris Townsend, the columnist for the Chronicle, also wrote about this offshore wind project that Trump shut down. He's doing horrible things that hurt the economy and hurt the environment, and that's things we need to hear about.
You know, let me just tell you, Jimmy, at our town hall with Dan Crenshaw, when he came and just started speaking and giving a narrative of what he claimed he has done, that specific question was one of the questions being asked of Dan. Why are you supporting the shutdown. And it, by the way, you are talking about the wind farm off of, I think it's Maine. There's also the solar stations that they were building. I believe it was in I think you were talking about Rhode Island. The solar station I think was in Maine. And let me tell you, that solar station had a lot of electricians working for it. And ironically, these were electricians that were out there voting for Trump, etc., all that good stuff. Which in effect, as he shut down those solar cells, as he shut down the wind power, those are guys that actually voted to oust their own jobs. I want you to think about that, folks. When we talk about voting against one interest, they voted to oust their jobs. Many people are voting to close down rural hospitals. Their vote will do those things. And the reason why a lot of folks don't know it is because the connection has not been made between their vote and what's going to happen as it should. And that's what we try to do here, Jimmy. So I'm going to tell you, that's what we try to do with specifics. It's not just about bashing Trump. You're absolutely right about that. It's not about bashing Trump. It's about what is Trump doing. So I take umbrage to that. So thank you, brother. You have a good one, okay?
Thank you, Roberto. Keep up the good work on specific issues.
Thank you, brother. Have a good one. All right. Uju says, morning. When the people become educated, they develop the critical thinking skills that prevents them from being conned with misinformation and disinformation, and eventually they become woke. Yes, they're awakened. Also, brand seriously get educated. You can't compare apples to oranges. Yeah, that's what I try to do. These false equivalences, and what gets me is how they do it with a big chest. What about if we did? Well, those are false equivalences, man. You've answering that. Let me tell you, Uju. One of the reasons I just disregard the question is answering that gives credence to the false equivalence. We're not going to waste time on false equivalences at all, at all. Let's go ahead and bring in Patrick because we're running low on time. Come on in, Patrick.
Okay. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
I think it was Jimmy pointing out that we're shutting down renewable energy and everything. Another angle that we're not really talking about on that is that when we shut projects like that down, we're actually stealing an endowment from future generations. Because if we're not using renewable energy to power homes and businesses, then we're using natural gas and coal, and both of those are feedstocks for things like plastics, things like medication, things that we can't deal without. And when those are gone or dwindling, there's not a replacement for them. So instead of saving an endowment for our future generations so that they can have medication that we need, we're burning this stuff as fast as possible, and we're doing it in a manner that's raising the price of it. That's
exactly. Thank you very much for that, Patrick. You have a wonderful day. See you at 3. Let's go to Uju. Come on in, Uju.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Morning, everyone. I just want to recommend 2 books to people. You were talking about people voting against their jobs and against their best interest. 2 books for people. One, The Sum of Us by Heather McGhee. And the other one is actually a child's book. It's funny because actually last night my son was reading it, and as he's reading it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is literally, I think, should be a Labor Day requirement for all Americans. It's Click, Clack, Move. I forget who the author is, but yeah, basically it's very important to know what it means to be organized, what it means to stand together. So I'm going to recommend those 2 books for everyone, and that's all I got.
Thank you so kindly for the recommendation, Uju. I'm going to try to cut this out and put that out for people to go ahead and pick up. You have a wonderful rest of your day. So yeah, folks, we are close to the end of the program. I wanted to say more about Medicare and Medicare Advantage, but I think I got the core out that I wanted to get. Please remember, if you have a few dollars in your pocket, don't let them convince you to go the Medicare Advantage on false pretenses that it's not going to cost you anything. It may actually cost you your life. Let's go to the studio.
Oh, nothing here from me. How about you, Jack? You got something?
No, I'm good.
Jack says he's good, so take it
Jack,
home, Egberto.
all right, I'll take it home. I have a few more things to say then. I was giving you guys a well, anyway. Look,
I
let
know, but
me
we want to hear what you got to say.
okay. But anyway, folks, so look, again, you are going to be hearing from every source at this point in time to try to convince you that Medicare Advantage is Medicare. They're going to make it seem like you have choices. You have a choice of traditional Medicare, but don't forget, traditional Medicare doesn't come with dental and ears and eyes. So don't get that. We have this Medicare Advantage that has everything in it. It's a scam. And I would love for anyone who sells it or anyone who has it to come on our show. Notice I said our show and defend it. Please stick with traditional Medicare. You can even get Medigap programs that include eyes, ears, and nose. Eyes, ears, and whatever the other thing is, teeth. So please don't be fooled. You can find the rest of the program at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. You can email me directly at kpft@politicsdoneright.com. Love you all, and I mean that from the depths of my heart. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
You're listening